NC State and NC A&T Extension are committed to programs and employment opportunities available to all citizens without regard to race, color, national origin, sex, sexual orientation, age, or disability. This training is designed to provide you with an overview of civil rights in order to prevent civil rights violations. In this course, we will review the legal authority for civil rights regulations and protected classes, the public notification system, non-discrimination statement, and program accessibility, the importance of providing quality customer service, conflict resolution tools, the civil rights complaint process, the importance of collecting and reporting racial, ethnic, and gender data, and the USDA Civil Rights Compliance Review process. Civil rights refer to the rights of personal liberty guaranteed by the 13th and 14th Amendments to the United States Constitution and Acts of Congress, and to the fair and equitable treatment of all customers and employees. The goals of civil rights are to eliminate barriers that prevent or deter people from receiving program benefits, to provide equal treatment to all in the delivery of programs and services, to ensure that all applicants and participants understand their rights and responsibilities, and to show respect and dignity to all. Discrimination can occur when people are treated differently, or in cases where they're denied services, benefits, rights, or privileges because they're a member of one of the protected classes. Discrimination can happen intentionally, by neglect, or by actions or lack of actions provided to a person or persons. A protected class refers to any person or group of people who have characteristics for which discrimination is prohibited based on law, regulation, or an executive order. The U.S. non-discrimination statement identifies the following protected classes: race, color, national origin, religion, sex, gender identity, including gender expression, sexual orientation, marital status, family or parental status, disability, age, income derived from public assistance programs, political beliefs, or reprisal or retaliation for prior civil rights activities. Please note that not all of these bases will apply to all programs. There are three types of discrimination that have negative effects on programs and violate the civil rights of the protected classes. The first is disparate treatment. This occurs when a person is intentionally discriminated against because they are a member of a protected class. For example, you are working with a religious organization that distributes food, and the organization denies services to members of other religious groups because of the beliefs not matching that of the organization. In this situation, the organization is intentionally discriminating against individuals of other faiths. The second type of discrimination is disparate impact. This occurs when an action appears neutral but has excessive impact on a protected class. Disparate impact does not require proof of discriminatory intent, but centers around the adverse effects that the policy or practice has on protected groups. An example would be a food distribution site making people who are Spanish-speaking wait until the end of the day for food because interpreters are not available till late afternoon. On the surface, this appears neutral because the organization is not necessarily denying service, but only providing service when they have interpreters available. However, this creates a situation whereby at the end of the day, there may not be any food left, or at the end of the day, the Spanish-speaking population may not have transportation available. Finally, reprisal or retaliation is when there's a negative treatment of a member of a protected class in response to previous civil rights activity. This includes actions against their family or other associates. In this case, family and friends of a participant might be denied service after the participant filed a complaint against the agency over civil rights concerns. Some programs have legally established eligibility requirements. Congress can establish programs identified for certain groups of people, and it's not discrimination to exclude those that do not meet your eligibility requirements, even if they are members of a protected class. For example, Congress may set age limits for a program. It is not age discrimination for you to exclude people who do not meet the age limits, even though age is a protected class. It would be discrimination, however, if you limited a protected class's access to a program that doesn't have eligibility requirements. We'll now move on to discuss the legal authority for civil rights regulations in the United States that pertain to your work with cooperative extension. There are numerous acts and laws that were enacted over the course of the last 50 years. As an employee working with one or more USDA programs, and at a land-grant university receiving USDA funds, we are responsible for ensuring that there is equal access to our programs. Federal law prohibits discrimination in the programs based on USDA protected classes. Unlawful discrimination in any form is strictly prohibited, whether a program is fully or partially funded. In accordance with federal civil rights laws and the U.S. Department of Agriculture Civil Rights Regulations and Policies, USDA programs are prohibited from discriminating based on race, color, national origin, religion, sex, gender identity, sexual orientation, disability, age, marital status, family or parental status, income, political beliefs, or reprisal. The Civil Rights Act of 1964 plays an important role in establishing civil rights of individuals. Specifically, Title VI of the Civil Rights Act of 1964 prohibits discrimination based on race, color, and national origin in programs and activities receiving federal financial assistance. To effectuate this act, 7 CFR 15 prohibits discrimination in programs and activities funded in whole or in part by the U.S. Department of Agriculture. USDA Departmental Regulation 4330-2 prohibits discrimination in programs and activities funded in whole or part by the USDA. The policy is enforced by responding to discrimination complaints filed against recipients of federal financial assistance by the USDA, such as land-grant universities, and systematically evaluating whether and the extent to which programs and activities have been conducted in a manner consistent with applicable federal and USDA civil rights requirements. Title IX of the Education Amendments of 1972 prohibits discrimination based on sex under any education program or activity receiving federal financial assistance. The extension programs you offer cannot be segregated based on sex, nor can there be sex-specific competitions and awards. Title IX also requires that you implement your programs using methods, content, and locations that ensure non-discrimination based on sex. Title IX also requires you to use gender-neutral language and illustrations in publications, educational materials, promotional literature, forms, announcements, brochures, and other documents. The Rehabilitation Act of 1973 and the Americans with Disabilities Act of 1990 prohibit discrimination on the basis of disability in programs. You may need to make accommodations within your program to ensure that disabled persons have equal access to extension programming. The Age Discrimination Act of 1975 states that no person in the United States shall, on the basis of age, be excluded from, be denied the benefits of, or be subjected to discrimination under any program or activity receiving federal financial assistance. More recent civil rights legislation includes the Civil Rights Restoration Act of 1987, which amended the definition of program or activity to clarify that if any part of the institution, agency, or corporation receives financial assistance, then the previously enacted civil rights legislation will apply to the entire institution. In addition, the Civil Rights Act of 1991 amended the Civil Rights Act of 1964 to strengthen and improve federal civil rights employment laws, to provide for damages in cases of intentional employment discrimination, and to clarify provisions regarding disparate impact action. The second objective of today's training is to understand the requirements for public notification and program accessibility. The purpose of a public notification system is to inform applicants, participants, and potentially eligible persons of program availability, program rights and responsibilities, the non-discrimination policy, and the procedure for filing a complaint. Outreach is an important component of ensuring underserved populations within your area are made aware of, understand, and have a working knowledge of extension programs and services. Outreach will ensure that these programs and services are made accessible to all. Underserved groups include individuals and groups who have not participated in or received benefits from extension programs, and might include limited resource producers, small farms, minority groups, disabled individuals, people who are limited English proficient, and women. Examine your county's census data to understand the makeup of your community. This will help you identify what outreach efforts may be required. To help ensure your program includes underserved groups, it is important that you convey the message that extension services are open to everyone. The message of inclusiveness should be included on all of your outreach materials. You can also convey the message of equal opportunity through photos and graphics on program materials that show diversity in race, age, gender, and so forth. Other ways to reach out to underserved community members includes hosting town hall meetings, gaining the trust of key community contacts, coordinating your services with other local agencies, participating in local functions, and offering non-traditional opportunities. Your efforts to ensure program availability also includes informing the public that accessibility accommodations can be made for persons with disabilities and persons with limited English proficiency. As a way to reach limited English proficient groups, you can provide program information in different formats and languages. You must make all reasonable efforts to ensure members of your community are aware of your programs and their eligibility to participate. You need to be able to demonstrate that a sincere effort has been made to encourage participation by minorities and other protected groups, and to overcome the barriers and concerns that might interfere with participation. It's not enough to simply announce that the program is open to all. At a minimum, you're required to show that you've used all types of available mass media, such as websites, radio, newspapers, and television, to inform potential recipients of the program and the opportunity to participate. That you've sent personal letters addressed to potential participants inviting them to participate, including dates and places of meetings or other planned activities, and that you've made personal visits to a representative number of defined potential participants in your counties to encourage participation. It's important for you to document that all reasonable efforts have been made. You should keep 3 years of records on your efforts, the current year and 2 previous years. Copies of mass media releases and circular letters will meet the first 2 requirements. Personal visits may be documented by making a record of personal visits, including visitor, dates, person reached, responses, and other related information. Let's look at an example of a possible barrier. Suppose you publicize your program on social media, but there are groups within your community who don't have access to computers or who don't use social media. In this situation, you don't meet the standard of making all reasonable efforts. Another example is if you only publicize your program in English and you have a large Spanish-speaking population. Again, in this case, you have not done all that you could do to notify potential participants of the program. If you have a large Spanish-speaking population, you may need to translate your advertising materials, advertise on Spanish TV or radio stations, or make personal contacts with members of the community. In addition to ensuring all people are aware of your programs, you need to make a sincere effort to encourage participation by members of protected classes and to overcome barriers and concerns that might interfere with their participation. Accessibility to the program can include physical access to the services provided as well as language accommodations.
No sign. No sign here either. Eeny, meeny, miny, mo.
Persons with disabilities have the legal right to access programs and services. We have an obligation to ensure that members of the public are provided accommodations in order to access program information, applications, and assistance if necessary. People with disabilities must be admitted or served regardless of their disability, integrated into regular programs to the maximum extent possible, included in regular programs, and given the choice to accept or decline special services or benefits. There are a number of steps you can take to ensure that your programs and services are accessible to and usable by persons with disabilities. Providing service to disabled individuals includes having handicapped accessible facilities. This should include the parking lot, entrances, exits, hallways, elevators, restrooms, and braille signage. It might be necessary for you to clear the hallways and doorways of unnecessary clutter, guide a person in and out of the building, or even help reach an item on a shelf. If access is not available, then you need to offer the most integrated setting possible to enable persons with disabilities the full benefit of your programs. Other things you could do includes having sign language interpreters, exchanging written notes, providing recorded versions of information, and allowing service animals at facilities. For generations, the United States has been referred to as a melting pot. This reference is specific to the large diversity of our country's citizens. Many people immigrate to the United States who are either unable or have very limited ability to speak, read, write, or understand English. Title VI and its implementing regulations, Executive Order 13166, and USDA Guidance 7 CFR 15 requires the recipients of USDA funding to take reasonable steps to ensure that limited English proficient persons receive the language assistance necessary to afford them meaningful access to USDA programs and activities free of charge. To ensure compliance with civil rights laws, program materials must be provided to potentially eligible persons, applicants, program participants, and the public in languages other than English as appropriate. A person is considered limited English proficient if he or she does not speak English as their primary language, has a limited ability to speak, read, write, or understand English. LEP individuals lack sufficient English skills, which in turn creates a need to be served in another language to gain meaningful access to services.
So what does it mean to provide meaningful access? Although there are many factors that can be used, the federal guidance focuses on the following 4 factors to consider when determining how to provide meaningful access. First, the number or proportion of LEP persons in the community. The more people who speak a particular language and are eligible to be served or likely to be encountered, the more services in that language are needed. Second, the frequency of contact the recipient has or should have with LEP persons. The more frequent the contact, the greater the need for interpreters, translators, or other language assistance tools. Third, the nature and importance of the benefit, service, communication, or information to the LEP person. The more important, the more likely high-quality and timely language services are needed. Another way to think of this is to determine the consequences to an LEP person if communication is not effective. Fourth, the resources available, along with the costs of providing language assistance. Smaller programs with more limited budgets generally are not expected to provide the same level and expense of language services as larger programs with larger budgets. Balancing these factors will help to determine the level of language services necessary to provide meaningful access.
The And Justice for All Civil Rights poster is the primary method utilized to inform our customers of their rights and the procedures for filing civil rights program complaint with the USDA. This poster displays information relevant to recipients of federally assisted programs, such as the services provided by land-grant universities. Cooperative Extension is required to use the non-discrimination statement on all materials such as enrollment forms, handbooks, newsletters, brochures, bulletins, leaflets, circulars, fact sheets, program announcements, print or broadcast ads, news releases, flyers, websites, and other miscellaneous publications. The statement should be made available in English and all other languages appropriate to the local population. The statement, as written, is North Carolina State University and North Carolina A&T State University commit themselves to positive action to secure equal opportunity, regardless of race, color, creed, national origin, religion, sex, age, veteran status, or disability. In addition, the 2 universities welcome all persons without regard to sexual orientation. North Carolina State University and North Carolina A&T State University, U.S. Department of Agriculture, and local governments cooperating. Federal regulations allow the use of a shorter non-discrimination statement on program materials if the material is 1 page or less in length. The shorter statement must be the same size print as the text of the document. Remember, the shorter version is the exception, not the rule. Providing excellent customer service is one of the most effective ways for ensuring compliance with civil rights laws and to be certain everyone is treated the same. Applicants, participants, and the public are customers of your program. Treating customers with respect and dignity through customer service saves you time and minimizes the opportunities for complaints. Professionalism sets the stage for positive relationships. First and foremost, by demonstrating good listening, you show your customers that their voice will be heard, and by being available helps resolve issues before becoming a problem. As a professional, you must respond in a professional manner regardless of your customer's behavior. Being responsive to your customers demonstrates that actions will be taken if they have a concern. To ensure you provide excellent customer service, some best practices include treating all customers with respect and dignity, exercising good listening skills by being attentive to the customer and their needs, learning to empathize with the customer when necessary, responding to questions in a non-threatening manner, ensuring your voice and tone are calm and clear, communicating rules as well as client rights and responsibilities clearly and precisely, recognizing and appreciating that customers have many varied needs and few resources, recognizing when a person feels they've been treated in a rude and discourteous manner. The quality of the service you provide one person should not be any different than another because of race, color, national origin, religion, sex, or disability.
Don't you wish difficult people came with a sign? Unfortunately, they don't. In fact, difficult people comprise about 10% of the population, yet they're responsible for more than 50% of the relational challenges that you and I face in our life, at our homes, and in our work.
No matter how great your customer service skills are, there will be times when conflict arises. An issue that starts out as a simple disagreement can sometimes escalate into a civil rights complaint. Conflict resolution skills can help you provide good customer service and avoid potential civil rights complaints. Employing some or all of the following 5 techniques can assist with effective conflict resolution. Using a win-win approach is about changing the conflict from an adversarial attack and defense to cooperation. It is this powerful shift of attitude that alters the course of communication. The win-win approach says, I want to win and I want you to win too. The most important win-win maneuver you can make is to change the course by beginning to discuss underlying needs rather than only looking at solutions. When employing appropriate assertiveness, you should be able to state your case without arousing the defenses of the other person. The secret of success lies in saying how it is for you rather than what they should or shouldn't do. Use I statements to state your case without engaging the other person's defenses. An I statement tells how it is on your side. They're conversation openers, not solutions. Cooperating power is being faced with a statement that has the potential to create conflict, then asking open-ended questions to reframe resistance. Explore difficulties, then redirect discussion to focus on positive possibilities. Cooperative power is seeing things from the flip side, changing your perspective, finding and focusing on positive options. Remember that managing emotions is internal as well as external. It's vital to manage your own emotions, sticking strictly to the facts of the complaint. Demonstrating empathy is about rapport and openness between people. When it's absent, people are less likely to consider needs and feelings. The best way to build empathy is to help the others feel they're being understood. This means being an active listener. To demonstrate empathy, be attentive and focus on the person, ask questions to find out what it's like on their side, reflect back, explore the situation to get clarity, and summarize what you've heard. If a person feels they're being heard, it's much harder to stay angry. Using a creative response is about turning problems into possibilities. It's about consciously choosing to see what can be done rather than focusing on the perceived problem. Redirect and focus on positive possibilities. The creative response to conflict is about turning problems into possibilities. It's about consciously choosing to see what can be done rather than saying how terrible it all is. It's affirming that you will choose to extract the best from the situation. In this next section, we'll talk about the process of filing a civil rights complaint. Conflicts will happen. If someone believes that either discrimination has occurred or is occurring, or if a program is not in compliance with federal civil rights requirements, they can file a written complaint with NC State, NCA&T, or the USDA. You should never discourage or interfere with anyone filing a complaint or voicing concerns of discrimination.
I'll do that. Right. Hi, can I help?
I get the feeling you don't like people like us around here.
Ooh. Can you tell me what you mean?
Okay. We got here right in front of Mr. and Mrs. All-American family. Well, how come they're camping by the lake? And we get assigned the slot beside the plumbing facilities? And what, the guy at the gate didn't approve of us?
You have, let's see, number 8.
That's right. Camp Swampy.
No problem. If you'd like, I can reassign you to number 16. That's near the big rocks by the lake. There's a couple of owls nesting in that real tall pine.
Cool. That's fine.
Well, I'm sorry about the misunderstanding.
Thank you.
Oh, wait. Here, take this. If you feel that you have been discriminated against, get in touch with this office. The contact information is also on that poster over there.
Oh, no. I'm satisfied. But how come I had to make an effort to come and talk to you if I wanted a decent location?
Well, most folks don't have preferences, so we assign the campsites numerically as you come in, unless you request a specific one. We ought to drop that campsite 8 from the rotation.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, you sure you don't want this? You have 180 days to file a complaint.
No. Thanks. Thank you.
You have a great stay.
All right, thanks.
Trout Pond, this is Fox. Terry, how are you?
I'm doing fine. Oh, the carburetor on that conveyor is still acting funny. I hope I don't have to replace the motor.
Did you get that soybean field turned?
I sure did. The weather broke last Tuesday. I had to finish up using headlights, but it's done.
Good. I was afraid I was going to have to get on a plane and come out there.
Oh, Uncle Alan, a tractor doesn't care who's driving it. You can stay there where it's warm.
It was 45 degrees this morning, but we still have campers. I've just been a little concerned about you. It's been, what, 6 months since Carl died?
Last June. I appreciate your thinking of me, but you know it's not like this work is anything new. It's been 2 or 3 years since Pop could do anything, what with his emphysema and all.
Okay, I'll stop pestering. You know we have faith in you.
Thanks. It means a lot.
Let's see. You called me.
Yeah, I didn't get that bank loan. No, I didn't really expect it. They don't have a history on me. All their records say Carl Fox. I'm going to go see Tom Pryor over at the Farm Services office.
Oh, that's a good idea. Fine farmer like you, Tom will fix you right up.
Doggone it, Tom. Discrimination was supposed to be over and done with.
I know what you're saying, Reese. I feel the same way. The whole thing is embarrassment to the program. All the time I've been here, I've never seen anybody told to jump through the hoops that you're talking about for such a small loan.
You know, it makes me sad that it's a young man that's doing it. Now, you'd have thought he'd learn better.
All ages have some learning to do. This brochure explains the complaint process. If you fill out the form, it makes it easier for them to set up the file because the information is organized like their database.
Mm-hmm. Well, I have to tell you, I don't have any faith in this. Well, I'll fill out this complaint and all, but looks like to me nothing's changed.
I'm going to go on a limb here, Reese. Things are changing, a whole lot. And not just at the Farm Service Agency, throughout all of USDA.
Well, then, how do you explain?
It's people. There's 90,000 or so people we're talking about. Some of them are a little slow. They're going to have to get set straight before they catch on, I'm afraid.
Well, it's about time management did something. But I can't get caught up 4 or 5 years in this complaint going nowhere. And me trying to run my farm.
That's the one part that has changed. The whole thing is completed in 180 days, 6 months. Investigated, adjudicated, consecrated, done. They assign a case manager up in Washington as soon as you get in touch with the Department's Office of Civil Rights.
A person. Somebody I can call.
Exactly. You get a phone number. You can find out exactly where your case is anytime you want to.
I'll take your word for it then. For now.
Meanwhile, I'll help you out with your paperwork. You bring in those production reports and your other records on Monday.
I'll do it.
We'll get you squared away.
Hey, Tom, can this Bob fellow mess up my loan? I mean, if he finds out I'm filing this complaint.
You mean like the old days? No, Reese, he can't. And if he harasses you in the tiniest way, he'll be in more trouble than he can imagine. Same goes for anybody else in this office.
Well, thanks.
Terry, good to see you. You're looking well.
Thank you, Tom. So are you. How's Carolyn?
She's in hog heaven, a new granddaughter.
Oh, that's great.
She's staying with Amy out in Cleveland for 2 or 3 weeks. Say, I've been meaning to stop by for a while to tell you how sorry I was about your dad. We all are.
Thank you. I miss him.
It's got to be rough running that place without him.
Well, actually, it's pretty quiet right now. Just getting the equipment tuned up. All the plowing's done.
Oh, well, you're ahead of most of the farms around here. I just figured, you know, trying to go it alone.
Well, I hire help when I need it, just like Pop did. I have Camden and his equipment lined up for a week at the end of March to put in my sorghum and soybeans.
Isn't that early for sorghum?
You know, I had the same argument with Pop for the last 3 years. Good yields, though. I'm going to try about 6 acres of amaranth this year, too. Millie over at the co-op says she has a buyer for it.
Amaranth?
I'm here to talk about an operating loan. I need to finance my seed and Camden's help, plus fertilizer.
Uh-huh. Well, there's no nice way to put this. You'll just have to explain to me why I should risk the government's money with you.
What?
I just don't see how you can succeed at this. I think you ought to put the farm on the market. You could get a good price for it right now.
Mr. Pryor, I came to you for a loan, not for instructions about running my life.
Terry, I don't mean any harm. I respect your father. I just don't want to see you lose what he built when it turns out to be too much for you.
I don't understand. Why do you think it would be too much for me?
I know farming is hard work. I've done it for years. I guess I'm old-fashioned, but I just don't think it's fitting for a young woman, especially one with problems like you've got.
May I have the loan forms, please? I was hoping for a little guidance.
I already offered.
Then maybe I should talk to somebody else.
Discrimination, whatever form it takes, is never okay. The USDA has a process for dealing with discrimination complaints. It's important for USDA employees and agents to recognize a discrimination complaint, even when a customer doesn't use that word.
I get the feeling you don't like people like us around here.
The essence of a discrimination complaint is the idea that you are treating me differently because of something about me. That something could be race, religion, sexual orientation, or other characteristics. The correct response to a discrimination complaint has two parts. First, you see if you can resolve the complaint on the spot.
If you'd like, I can reassign you to campsite 16.
If a customer refuses your efforts to resolve the problem, stop. Don't pursue it. And resolving a problem is only part of your response. Always offer a customer the tools to pursue a discrimination complaint through the Office of Civil Rights.
This brochure explains the complaint process.
The brochure, the complaint form, the poster, all of these can help a customer to use the complaint process. After a complaint has been filed, no USDA employee or agent can use that against the customer.
And if he harasses you in the tiniest way, he'll be in more trouble than he can imagine.
That would be reprisal, and that is against the law. We have a long way to go in getting our customers' confidence back, and for the foreseeable future, we'll have to bend over backward to avoid any appearance of discrimination. Even when you think it's well-meaning, it's wrong.
Hey, I'm pretty disappointed, too.
It was just so unexpected. I feel kind of bad that I filed that complaint, but
Terry, he didn't have any excuse. He's an adult with a responsible job, and he tried to make you out to be incompetent.
it looks like that loan is going to go through okay, though. As soon as I filed that complaint, they kind of took Tom out of the process. So I got the help I needed.
Well, that's good. It's going to be a good year for you.
Yeah, it is. Thanks.
We are required to collect data pertaining to race, ethnicity, and gender of our customers for federal reporting purposes. As an extension agent, you are required to maintain race, ethnicity, and gender data on your contacts. Race, ethnicity, and gender data is collected to determine how effectively programs are reaching potentially eligible persons, to identify areas where additional outreach is needed, to assist in the selection of locations for compliance reviews, and to provide information to complete annual reports. You should routinely look at your data and compare the race, ethnicity, and gender of your program participants with the potentially eligible persons within your service areas. If disparities or areas of underrepresentation occur, it will be necessary to investigate the causes and provide additional outreach as necessary. Self-identification or self-reporting is the preferred method of collecting this participant data. You should encourage program applicants and participants to provide the information by explaining the use of the statistical data. They should be assured that the information is required for and used for statistical purposes only and has no effect on their eligibility or participation. If a participant refuses to provide data, then inform them that the information will be collected based on your observation. An important point to note is that although it is optional for participants to provide you with racial, ethnic, and gender information, it is a requirement for you to collect and maintain that data. All data collected must be kept secure and confidential. Sometimes this data is collected using sign-in sheets. North Carolina public records laws allow requests to be made for your participant sign-in sheets. If this happens, you should redact any race, ethnicity, and gender data before you provide the requested list. If the request specifically asks for the race, ethnicity, and/or gender of the participants, do not provide the requested information and forward the request to the NC State University Records Officer within the NC State University Office of General Counsel. Civil rights compliance reviews are conducted to ensure we are following applicable civil rights statutes, regulations, standards, and policies, and protecting the civil rights of our eligible clients. USDA's civil rights compliance reviews of land grant extension programs are conducted on a rotational basis. This on-site review examines our efforts to ensure our programs are available to all, and we are not discriminating against persons in protected classes. As an extension program, we also conduct annual and periodic reviews of civil rights data, county files, and other information to ensure we maintain compliance with all applicable laws and policies. NC State and NC A&T Extension, along with the National Institute of Food and Agriculture, recognize the importance of diversity and inclusion in the development and implementation of extension programs. These extension programs must be handled in a manner that treats every customer and employee with fairness, equality, and respect. This applies to all aspects of the extension programs, including identifying needs, setting priorities, allocating resources, selecting and assigning staff, conducting programs, and getting feedback.